Should you still have an emergency fund when you're in retirement, or is it not necessary? Well, there's times when you should, and there's times when you shouldn't. I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Love the emergency fund, guys. It's hard to save up into. It's hard to get that in place. But guys, once you do, there are so many benefits. In my opinion, I wish we could rename all emergency funds and instead call them financial confidence accounts, because it's going to give you, having a fully funded emergency fund, see, I'm using that too, having that fully funded, it's going to give you way more financial confidence than it is going to protect you from emergencies. See, the reality is that you're going to use that account very rarely for emergencies, because do they happen? Yes, life come at you, it'll come at you fast. However, does it happen all the time, every month, every year? No, it's just sporadic. But all the while, in between emergencies, it's giving you, having a fully funded emergency fund is giving you financial confidence so that you can strive headlong towards your long-term financial goals. Maybe even some short-term financial goals that, yeah, we're gonna do that home renovation. We're gonna go on that vacation. We're gonna save up into that. We're gonna max out that HSA. It makes sense from our taxes and makes sense for our financial life. And therefore, I'm gonna say goodbye to this cash flow. And I'm okay with that because I've got this fully funded emergency fund. All the time, it's giving you financial confidence to make great financial decisions and strive towards your long-term and short-term financial goals. So I wish we would get rid of the nomenclature emergency fund altogether, call it a financial confidence account. But emergency fund does just have a ring to it. So why do you need an emergency fund? Well, to deal with a financial emergency, of course. But when you actually break it down, is getting new tires on your vehicle, all of a sudden you take it in for an oil change and say you need new tires. Is that an emergency? No, technically you should have been saving up for that. And well, what about hitting a deductible? Well, if you hit your deductible every single year, or you've got young kids, you probably should be prepared for that. And so true financial emergencies, when you have a fully built out 3 bank account system, true financial emergencies typically come with, I have an interruption to my income. I suddenly lost my job, or I was, downsized, or my hours were reduced, or I took a pay cut and financially we're not prepared for that, or an expense comes up out of the blue that you weren't prepared for, and you don't have access to other resources, to other finances, to other cash. And that's the reason why you need this emergency fund. Now, I'm oversimplifying, and there's lots of very specific circumstances where you'd say emergency fund would be valuable. But if I could oversimplify, an interruption to your income, all of a sudden I lost my job, something like that, or a big expense, and I don't have access to other cash. Well, that is extremely important while you're working. Okay, and so I'd encourage you, if you're still in your career, work with your certified financial planner, see where building up that fully funded emergency fund fits within the priority of all of your other financial goals, and figure out how you can work it in, how you can achieve it, because you want that financial confidence. You do. But when you're retired, do you still need an emergency fund? Do you still need that? Because there's no interruption to your income, right? You're on Social Security. Maybe you're fortunate and you have a pension, and then you're drawing dividends and other things out of your investment portfolio to supplement your Social Security. That's going to continue to happen. And then when all of a sudden an expense comes up, you've got access to your entire retirement portfolio because you've reached that magical age, 59 and a half. You're no longer working, and therefore there's no hardships or anything you need to worry about. You can just withdraw how much, whatever you want, whatever you need at any time. So yes, will financial emergencies still come up in your retirement? Absolutely, they will. But it won't be tied with an interruption to your income, and you won't be, kind of backed into a corner where you won't be able to get your hands on some cash. Therefore, I ask the question again, do you still need an emergency fund in retirement? Ideally, the answer is yes. For all of you. Ideally, that answer is yes, okay? And let me explain the ideal. Because it's still going to give you that financial confidence that you're going to want in retirement. In retirement, do you want to be confident about your financial life, about your cash flow, that you've got enough resources on hand no matter what comes up? Yes. You always want that, and certainly in retirement, you want that confidence. Do you want to be more spontaneous? Yeah, financial confidence would give you that. Do you want to be maybe more generous, either with the causes you care about, the church, your kids, something like that? Yeah. And do you want a little bit more flexibility and freedom with how you spend your money and how you spend your time? Yes, all of those at all times, but certainly in retirement. And a financial confidence account or a fully funded emergency fund is going to do that very thing. So in an ideal world, you have saved up and built up a fully funded emergency fund throughout your career, and then you make sure that that thing is fully stocked and ready to go as you transition into retirement. You then set up your retirement income strategy, optimizing when you're going to draw Social Security and how you're going to claim that, where you're going to draw other income from, whether that's drawing dividends or interest or structuring your portfolio using a personal pension plan is what we typically recommend to supplement your income, and that you're drawing a sustainable amount out of your portfolio, and that's enough to manage your own lifestyle every single month and on an ongoing basis. And you've got this fully funding emergency fund, whether that's 25 grand, 50 grand, whatever it is, of cash readily available for you. That gives you the financial confidence and the spontaneity and the generosity, all those features that I already mentioned. But it also gives you one more. And it's a little bit more of that flexibility that I mentioned earlier. And that is, all right, you need a new vehicle. Well, depending on your tax situation or tax bracket in that individual year, should you draw money out of your portfolio? You're legally, you're eligible to do that, and you're able to do it without a penalty. Should you do that and fund the entire thing out of your retirement accounts, or should you use a little bit of that emergency fund? And you might say, no, that's against the rules. That's not an emergency. I know. When you're in your working career, absolutely, I would say that is not an emergency. Work with your certified financial planner, see if there's any creative strategies there. But when you're in retirement, you can use this emergency fund as a resource to help manage your tax situation and your tax planning. Home renovation, big vacation, car replacement, car repair, those sorts of things. Having a stash of cash that doesn't have any tax consequence to it when you need to touch it gives you a lot more flexibility in addition to all of the financial confidence that I mentioned earlier. Therefore, in an ideal situation, you've built up that emergency fund during your career and you've received those benefits of having that during your career. But then you transition into retirement with that fully funded emergency fund, and it provides a lot of confidence and flexibility during retirement. Now, when you wouldn't want a fully funded emergency fund is if you showed up at retirement's doorstep and it wasn't fully funded. The risk, and I've seen this many times, is where people transition into retirement and they don't have an emergency fund built up. And what they end up doing is they start drawing more out of their retirement accounts than what they actually need, paying more tax, potentially causing more of their Social Security to be taxable, simply because they don't have a cash reserve, a stash available, an emergency fund available. So they draw out more, push themselves into higher tax brackets, create more tax consequences, all so that they have a little bit of extra wiggle room. In that scenario, if you show up in retirement or you're in retirement and you don't have a fully funded emergency fund, then the importance is working with your CFP on tax planning. Maybe it will make sense for you to take a little extra out of the IRA or take your RMD or something and shove it into cash, but only do so if it makes sense from a tax planning standpoint. I wouldn't want you looking and saying, well, we're in the 22% tax bracket. I feel like I need an emergency fund, so I'm going to draw an extra $75,000 out of my retirement account, pay a bunch of tax. That'll net me 50 grand. It'll push me up in the 24% tax bracket. I might have to pay a little bit of IRMA, but so be it. I need this emergency fund in place. Absolutely not. I'd work with your certified financial planner to see when and if pulling a little extra out of your retirement accounts may make sense so that you can keep some cash on hand, but it wouldn't be something that I would force and create some additional tax consequences to make sure that you had. That's why comprehensive financial planning is so important. That's why I would stress that. You've got to look at all 6 areas of your financial life to see, well, what would wisdom do? What's the wise action to take? And if you show up at retirement without a fully funded emergency fund, that's fine. No, absolutely no problem. Because again, you're going to work with your CFP to set up that retirement income strategy, optimize your Social Security, optimize your retirement withdrawals, and how you're going to structure your investment. And you're going to be just fine. You're not going to. You'll have full access to your retirement accounts, and you won't need to worry about an interruption to your income. And therefore, it's just managing the tax bill and managing cash flow in a prudent way. If you do show up at retirement, ideally with an emergency fund in place, that's fantastic. Gives you extra flexibility as well as that extra peace of mind. Regardless, work with your certified financial planner on your unique 6 areas of your financial life and the financial decisions that flow out of that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.